Hello.
Hello, we are Impulse Incorporated.
And we have been off for a while because of, well, you know, there's kind of been a pandemic in the world, as you can see by the ridiculous hair.
I thought this was just normal.
Not for me. You maybe, not me.
It takes a while for me to get to the barber to get a haircut.
Takes me, I don't know.
I'm honestly thinking just buying myself a set of trimmers and just get myself a buzz cut every.
See, if I trusted myself to not look like a 5-year-old during a science project trying to look like Frankenstein, maybe I would give that a shot, but nah. I got wings on the other side.
Anyway, so we started to watch the Clone Wars, but of course we couldn't actually watch all the episodes, and we kind of just we lost the ability to. Oh, I've lost track of what I was saying.
We lost the ability to meet up and watch a show?
Well, I was going to say more, we lost the ability to hold out to meet up and finish the show on our own times. We kind of just watch it on our own then. Figured we would talk about it at the end.
I mean, you watched it. I binge watched it yesterday.
Well, we said we were going to do this.
Episode,
and then you always forget.
Episode 2 to episode 12?
Yeah, you should have done from episode at least 4 to 12 because we did at least 3 episodes.
I started on episode. No, we did 3. We did one time. And
well, 2 episodes last time we met up.
Correct.
And 2 plus the one we did before equals 3.
And that was pretty awesome. Because it's awesome because now I have it all fresh in my head. And I have a lot of thoughts about this stuff, and some of the stuff made me angry. Most of it made me really happy.
But that's Star Wars for you.
It was all good.
Star Wars makes everybody happy and angry, or a lot of people angry. A toxic fan base we're part of.
I mean, you're right, but you're right. I don't like to admit it. But we're all most of us are toxic when it comes to Star Wars.
I do have my thoughts on the sequel trilogy, but I will say, given some time, it's not the worst stuff ever made. And I've seen the holiday special twice, fully.
Standalone movies, they're fantastic. The lack of singular vision in them makes me sad.
You know, it's really amazing that after the first Star Wars came out, they did the holiday special, and it could have ended everything right there.
I'm amazed that it didn't, seeing how the creator wants to take a hammer to every physical copy ever made.
I remember reading it once Disney purchased LucasArts. They actually didn't want that to go away anymore. They kind of encouraged it to stay there because it's part of Star Wars.
I mean, it is. It's also the first time you get to see Boba Fett, weirdly enough, but it's just so...
Have you seen it in full?
Parts of it. I just can't get through it.
I don't know what we're doing for Christmas.
You're going to make me sit there and watch Wookiees yell at each other with no subtitles for 45 minutes. No, that's where I always falter. I can't get past that part. I just can't do it.
Maybe we'll do it as a group, like we'll invite Eric.
We'll see. We'll see what happens. It's possible. We'll have to make it into a drinking game. Every time you hear rah, 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 we'll have to take a shot.
You guys are get like, I remember how you do a poker with drinking. You're gonna be done way too early for this.
Hey, one time. Singular time.
And then I won the game for you that night.
You did! You won me money. That was awesome. This dude won me money after I passed out.
I got my $5 back plus an extra $5 for winning the game.
See, you shouldn't have said how much money it was. Now it just sounds lame.
Yeah, $5 buck. I mean, it's not like we're high rollers here.
No, we're Star Wars fans. We're cheap rollers.
Anyway, Clone Wars.
The epicness of the Clone Wars.
Arguably the best television show for Star Wars.
It's not arguably, in my opinion, it's the best of the TV shows.
I mean, you could argue The Mandalorian.
Best of the animated TV shows.
Yeah, best animated.
Mandalorian takes a cake, but no, that...
I don't know. Like, I think that you could still argue for Clone Wars being better than Mandalorian.
It has more storytelling and, like, with characters we know, but Mandalorian is just such a good show. But I digress to Star Wars. The Clone Wars being an amazing animated series, so good. The last season did it so much justice. As you said, has 3 arcs. First one was just
Bad Batch.
The first one was all about these characters that stayed in the first arc. Second one was about these sisters and Ahsoka's origin story of being on her own. Third one was the Siege of Mandalore. And that was so good.
But before we get into those, let's just do a quick recap of some earlier seasons and the arcs that matter.
Oh, okay. You're gonna have to guide me here because I haven't watched the other 6 seasons in a long time. I do not remember them too well.
You can't just like pick out scene by scene from memory.
I didn't realize I was Dumbledore and I could just right out of my head.
Well, I mean, obviously, Clone Wars started with the movie. That's what we need to say. And it started out with us first being introduced to Ahsoka, and Ahsoka was not taken too easily. She was considered to be a very bland and annoying character.
Well, I mean, to me, when I first saw Ahsoka, I was thinking how this affects Anakin's character, who is always kind of like
He's the
student, younger, wanting to learn kind of guy, and they put him into this role to where he's teaching a youngling, and his absurd competency in the Clone Wars, while it makes for a great character, doesn't line up for Episode 3 to me. He's so level-headed in the Clone Wars, like all throughout it.
Yeah, but then he finds out he has like kid on the way.
Okay,
and you know what that does to somebody.
Well, no, not really.
You never known anybody that's had a kid and it just.
Oh, I was talking personally, but no, I understand that. But like, it's just, yeah, that actually makes a lot of sense. But still, he overwhelming confidence and competency in the Clone Wars TV show through all of the arcs. And then there's Obi-Wan.
I wouldn't really so much call it competence because he did lead his men down a dangerous path that could have easily gone wrong.
But he did it with style, man.
Yeah, but you can die with style too.
Yeah.
I mean, when you look at competence, Obi-Wan was competent because he didn't willingly risk everybody to get the job done.
If Obi-Wan did not have a diversion happening, he didn't do it. I noticed every single time, we're going to create a diversion, was every strategy he ever had in that TV show.
Anyway, so we meet Ahsoka, and their first arc is the Battle of Christophsis, where we meet one of my favorite Separatist leaders, Admiral Trench.
I forgot he was in the movie.
No, this is the first arc of the TV show that we really get into chronologically.
Oh, chronologically, I'm thinking of Showtime.
Because the movie was about rescuing Jabba's son.
Yeah.
Which I have issues with because we never find out whatever happens to him. I have issues with what happens on Tatooine after Jabba's death. Who takes over for him? I mean, most Hutts don't really like Tatooine because it's not their climate.
Yeah, but they also...
Did they try to reclaim Tatooine, or did they say, you know, Jabba's dead, let's just not care?
I don't think so, because there's no mention of a new Hutt in Tatooine when the Mandalorian, I want to say Mandalore, the Mandalorian goes there. Like, there's no mention of a new Hutt or anything like that. And everything seems kind of normal. Like, no one's really bothered.
I need to know what happens to Jabba's son, because obviously the son of Jabba, you would think that he'd probably have made a name for himself growing up.
Maybe he is over on Nal Hutta.
We need more story about Nal Hutta and, like, the Galactic Empire.
That'd be pretty sweet. Because Nal Hutta, in the expanded universe, it's really important. It's a slimy world, the slimy jewel of the Hutts. But, like, you never really hear much about it. You hear more about Nar Shaddaa in the Old Republic, and, well, that's mini Coruscant. It's really cool.
No, but then, I mean, Battle of Christophsis, we find out that, you know, of course, Admiral Yularen has faced Trench in the past, survived Trench, and decides to go along with Anakin on his delivery mission that turns into a flat-out assault on Trench.
And it works so well!
It really does, and I'm glad that Trench did not die in that episode.
Yeah, Trench was, I don't know, the fact that he was a spider made him kind of interesting, just in the pure fact of, this is the species that I haven't seen before, and his thing whenever he talked was also kind of funny.
It's a terrifying universe to live in with Star Wars.
Yeah!
There are giant spiders that are sentient.
Like, my girlfriend is terrified of spiders, sorry to call you out, babe, but like, it's, like, these, if you ever, someone like that ever met Admiral Trench, they try to swat him with a giant swatter or something?
Or the Geonosians, they're just giant bugs.
But those are kind of cool looking, though.
No. And remember, on their planet, they have brain worms. They can turn you into, like, mindless zombies.
Okay, back to Ahsoka, because that's terrifying. Ahsoka, her character at first for me, getting back on topic, was, I mean, I was okay with her. She was just the typical, you know, student trying to learn, overly ambitious, would question her master about everything they did. And I thought that was a good tie-in for the younger viewers.
Yeah.
To be like, they can relate to her a lot more than they can relate to a seasoned Jedi like Anakin, or even more seasoned Jedi like Obi-Wan, the Sith Slayer.
Oh, well.
He did kill them all by that point.
Well, no, he didn't.
In the eyes of the Jedi, at that point,
Yes, but he didn't actually kill a Sith until like years later.
We're still going with what I said though, because at that point we all think that he did. For years, since 1999, we thought that Obi-Wan killed the first Sith. Like
thousands
years.
of years.
Yeah. So he's a Sith Slayer, and he does do it later. So it's approved once and then confirmed later. And anyway, Ahsoka, she is a character that I accepted personally in the Clone Wars, and like, okay, she's pretty alright. And then her character just gets better. Like as she learns, you kind of grow up with this character. Like I was a little bit too old at that point to grow up with the character, but you kind of like you see this character grow up, and it's like that's awesome. You just see the whole arc.
I always love seeing her relationship with some of the other Jedi, like the Jedi who brought her in to the
Cole Plune.
Yeah, Cole Plune. He was always interesting dynamic to see those two.
Yeah, he's just very knowledgeable and calm, and like he's a monk. He's a flat-out monk.
And he gets shot down like it was nothing. Episode 3.
Yeah, those clones are just like, oh, you're my friend. Out of nowhere. For seemingly no Order 66 reason.
That was such a sad moment.
You getting lost there? You gonna start
I was
turning
just
up on me?
thinking of Order 66.
Oh, it happens. No.
It's just an everyday thing that happens.
No, that's terrible. Order 66 was awful. But like, we got too off topic. Where were we?
Well, I was talking about the Battle of Christophsis.
Okay.
We met Admiral Trench, who we would later meet again during Season 7.
Yeah, it's amazing how big of a gap they took. I mean, it kind of makes sense they had to put them a little bit back together there.
Yeah, he was in pieces.
Yeah, but the first episode, at least it's on Netflix, that I remember seeing the Clone Wars was when Yoda had to fight off the battle droids with that small group of clones by himself.
Yeah, that's actually the first episode in general on the show.
Mm-hmm. And that was a pretty cool episode in my opinion.
The moments I loved in that episode were when Yoda was talking to the other clones and
he was giving
teaching them, basically.
He was giving the advice. Yoda's the forever teacher. Everywhere he goes, he's just, I'm going to give you advice because I can.
And then he just kills them.
I would
No
too.
thought, just chops their heads off.
You're really stuck on Order 66 right now.
I mean, these are Jedi who, they formed bonds with their clones and then they just kill them like it was nothing.
I mean, when you're 900 years old, I don't think you care as much as you like.
Maybe you care more about life because you've seen so many deaths.
Or you're jaded. And you're just kind of like, I accept you for being here and I like you, but I'll slice you in half. Which one do you see on screen a bit more accurately?
I just want to point out, those clones were technically children. He killed children.
How are they children? They're adults. They've been alive for like, what, 5 years?
Why that old fist?
Why must you make this sad? Go cry in the corner. So, anyway, back to the Clone Wars. So, yes, the previous arcs of the Clone Wars were awesome. One of my personal favorite arcs just involved the Subjugator, because that's a really cool ship to me. I've always liked the Providence. Yeah, it's a boat. It's literally a boat flying in space. But it's just cool. The Subjugator is just monstrous. It has its own version of the Death Star weapon because Star Wars is incredibly original. And it's just like a monstrous piece of machinery that got destroyed way too easily. Did you know there was 4 of them?
No, I did not actually.
The one that Grievous uses as flagship was the only one ever like finished. The other 2 of them were definitely destroyed during construction. The 4th one, I don't remember. I think it was finished, but never actually like got any like use. The 3rd one though, as we saw, was doing a lot of damage.
Yeah. Now I do want to give a lot of props to the voice actors of the show because they did an amazing job. And D. Bradley Baker did fantastic work making every clone seem different than every other one.
Watching him in the studio must have been hysterical, where sometimes he's just having full episodes to himself just to conversate.
The Battle of Mumbai, it was pretty much just clones.
Yep, so it was just him in a studio by himself.
Until Pon Kryn was there, and then they killed him.
You know, it's Star Wars. Life is not exactly taken to the heart there.
Battle of Mumbai, though, was a fantastic arc. Arguably one of my favorites.
Mumbai was fun.
Arguably one of the darkest arcs. Until Season 7.
Literally the darkest too, because it was so dark on that planet. It was like all neon lights. Even the ships by the local Umbarans had neon lights on them, which is pretty sick.
And then they didn't even see their own brothers that they were shooting at.
Oh yeah, when the what was the Jedi's name again? Double lightsaber guy.
It was like Pong Krieg.
Calling him P. P decided that he is going to, hey, I hate clones because I'm a maniac. I'm going to say, hey, look, the Umbarans are using clone armor to try and trick us. What?
Pong Krell. I knew it was a PK.
They were calling him Krell. And Krell just was like, so, go attack those clones that you think are Umbarans in armor. Have fun, goodbye. And like, they don't find out until they, he uncovers a dead clone. It's like, wait, we're doing the bad.
See, here's the thing, is that Krell wanted, he was basically sending them to their death, and he was attempting to join the Confederacy.
Yeah, he wanted to be the apprentice of Dooku.
It's like, but once you went to war with the Jedi, do you think you're going to take out the Jedi Masters of the Council?
Yeah, he could barely take out some clone troopers.
Yeah,
let alone other Jedi. Like, if Anakin was there, he would have sliced him in half.
Anakin, Obi-Wan, Windu?
Yoda.
I think Windu probably would have taken more offense to the Jedi betraying them.
Oh, I can picture it. Like, okay, let's picture it. These 4 Jedi are there. Yoda kind of gets disappointed. He's like, come on, man. We've been through so much together. What do you think? And Anakin gets all offended. The dude's all, oh. Obi-Wan just immediately starts trying to think up something sassy to say to him, and then Windu's just like, you're fucking dead. He just goes right at it. He just runs right at it.
He brings his boys with him, and they just...
Nah, he doesn't even bring his boys. He's like, this is personal now. I can see it. Because, it's Samuel L. Jackson.
And there's so many movies of him just doing that.
Oh, it'd be great. I would love to see a live-action Samuel L. Jackson as Mace Windu just losing his absolute shit on somebody.
I mean, Disney would definitely have to use their de-aging technique to make it work. Unless we somehow brought Mace Windu back after episode 3 as a cut-up old man that maybe like lost an arm or something. And
where would you bring him back, though, in the story? Yes, we get sidetracked a lot. It's been a while since we've done YouTube.
he would have fallen out of the Chancellor's Tower, and let's say he somehow, grabbed onto something on his way down.
Who was it? Star Wars Theory did a whole series on Windu surviving and Vader having to hunt him down.
He's in a lot of What If series.
Well, yeah, because he is the most likely to survive. He was that powerful. Yeah, he got Sith lightning, but I mean, if Kylo Ren can survive that, I think Windu can survive that just as easily.
He was also standing on the edge of a window. That's just easy to knock somebody out of.
I always thought when I was a kid, the first thing I thought is like, what if a car hits him while he's falling? And then splat, you got some Windu on your windshield there.
Anyway, back to Clone Wars, maybe.
I enjoy Clone Wars. So many clones, so many droids.
But I mean, we're talking about clones, let's talk about the best clones. Fives, Echo, Heavy.
So the best clones.
99.
99 was like the best clone for all the right reasons. He's just a good dude. He took everyone's crap, but he was still such a good dude.
The Cadets trilogy was amazing, and it was such a sad arc to see what happened to Domino Squadron.
I mean, it was sad, but it has to happen sometimes in a war series where like things just go south.
Yeah, I mean, it's just sad that the fact that we saw them training so hard to get through Camino, to get to their first outpost, which wasn't even like a major battle area,
and then Kablooey,
and just basically get cut down by commando droids.
There's not much you can do against commando droids though, unless you're a Jedi. Those things are ninjas in robot suits.
I don't know. I think
in robot armor.
We've seen a few non-Jedi take them down. Like,
yeah, you have, but I mean, they're still really powerful droids.
Yeah. We've seen General Grievous get taken down by Gungans in this show.
Gungans.
I don't care what you say about Gungans or what you feel about them. That was one of my favorite moments of the series because Gungans are actually good warriors.
They are, with the exception of Jar Jar being just strangely good at everything for no good reason. The Gungans are a pretty serious race.
And the way they took Grievous down was fantastic. And it wasn't anything due to like, oh, this was Jar Jar stupidness that took him down. No, it was actually training from the general from episode 1.
Doesn't he die in the Clone Wars?
He does. He dies in that episode.
Okay, I thought so. I'm trying to think.
But it's so great. Like, they have Grievous pinned down, and then they take their spears and dig him right through his arms to hold him. There's like, do you know how many Jedi haven't been able to do this? And we get the Gungans to be able to do, like... If it weren't for Dooku having kidnapped Padme, I think, or something, it's like we could have taken out General Grievous that episode and like a major blow to the Confederacy.
Well, you know, plot armor and the fact that he's in the third movie kind of prevent that. I miss Grievous from the 2005 animated series, that little short series, because he was so scary in that series. He was incredibly menacing. He found all of those Jedi, and the one that was on purposely made to look like Shaggy and Scooby-Doo, all of those Jedi were just stuck in that downed acclimator, however you say it, and he just had perfect precision with the droids. He himself was an absolute war machine. And then, yeah, I guess he gets some PTSD from getting his chest crushed by Dooku, and he maybe had a day to deal with it.
He got his chest crushed by Windu.
I said Dooku, didn't I? I meant Windu, my bad. Yeah, he, like, right at the end, he's all like, I'm gonna kill you, and Windu's like, ugh, and he's like, oh, ugh, and then goes up.
I will say that I'm kind of happy that that's not the canon reason for his cough, because then it makes me think that why didn't anybody ever do this to Grievous any other time they face him? If you could crush him that much easily and just
honestly
easily disarm him, why not do it more often?
I think a lot of Jedi did not want to do that for the sheer fact of honor. They wanted to face him and overpower him in the same, in like, you know, saber skills.
Depends on the Jedi. Like Punk Rel, he wouldn't have given a shit. He would have crushed him.
No, he was more of a sorcerer anyway. He would have definitely did the Force thing.
He would take his forearms against Grievous' forearms and just started ripping them off.
That'd be hysterical.
That's a fight I want to see now.
Krell versus Dooku?
No, Krell versus Grievous.
Why do I keep saying Dooku? I'm stuck on Dooku apparently. But like, yeah, that'd be great.
Well, Dooku did have a lot of memorable moments during the Clone Wars.
He did. He was a good character.
Yeah, we saw him and his apprentice.
Ventress. Oh, Ventress! She was such an underused character. Ignore that. It's my alarm to take a shower for work. And it was Ventress. I feel like she just could have had more done with her.
I loved her rapport though with Obi-Wan. That was the best like combination of a villain hero that I saw in the show.
They had a great thing going on. In the old animated series, she had the same kind of thing with Anakin. And Anakin, I think, actually kills her, or at least disarms, or at least severely, like, wounds her, but, like, it was nuts. And I like how she kind of gets outcasted by Dooku when Palpatine's like, hey, she's actually kind of good. Kill her. Can't have this.
Oh. But, as things happen, Ventress, becomes a threat. Palpatine asks Dooku to get rid of her.
And she becomes a bounty hunter.
She does, but in the meantime, Dooku needs a new strong arm. He goes to Dathomir.
Yeah.
And gets Savage Opress.
Opress. I felt kind of bad for him. He tried. He tried so hard, and he just got cut down so many times. He was just the tank of the series. How much damage can one guy get? That was his whole part.
But he was a good tank when he needed to be.
He was. He took some blows from Palpatine.
That's the far more impressive bit, too.
Yeah.
That fight with Maul and Savage with Palpatine is one of my favorites in the series.
Yep, because it's like you never get to see Palpatine do much because he doesn't need to. But he's just so insanely powerful that like when anybody fights him, when Darth Maul, an incredibly powerful warrior, and his brother, who was powerful in his own right, they have no chance.
And you watch that fight and Palpatine, he's just having a ball with this.
Oh, he's laughing.
He's toying with them. It's like,
well, he doesn't get to do this much. I mean, he's just having fun.
Like you watch him step off that shuttle and he has the robes on. Like, this isn't Palpatine.
This is Sidious.
Yeah.
But that also speaks to Yoda in Episode 3 when they go toe to toe for like however long that fight lasted. So the new Clone Wars had, as we said before, 3 arcs, and it was pretty sweet.
So let's talk about the Bad Batch arc. And here's an issue I'm kind of having with it. We're introduced to these new clones, the Bad Batch. Mm-hmm. We rescue Echo, and then let's say in a time span of a few weeks, maybe Order 66 is called. Now, does the Bad Batch just not have inhibitor chips then?
They must have inhibitor chips.
Because those chips would have been put into them when they were young, before they probably would have found out of any mutations.
No, they had to have had, because imagine how powerful they would have been for the Alliance. Or they just decided just to retire and go away.
I'm really confused. Like, we just met these guys, and Order 66 has did they fight Order 66? Did they? What did they do? We just learned about these characters.
And they're pretty cool, too. And they all survive. I didn't think they were going to survive the series.
Yeah, I would have at least expected one of them to die and maybe then Echo take his place.
Nope, he just joins them. Yep, spoiler. Not spoiler.
Echo probably could have taken the place of Tech. I don't remember his actual name. I think it was Tech, actually.
I think it was Tech. I feel like that, that's what I always have a problem with when the last series introduces new characters, kind of like when Episode 8 introduced, what was her name again? The girl Rose. Like, it's not that her character was bad, it's just there wasn't enough time to introduce a new character.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, you did have 2
We
movies.
can go into Episode 8 on another time.
Yeah, sorry. But, like, in The Bad Batch, these 4 characters that are really cool, they're just throwaway characters, but they're so good, and, like, they give them so much screen time that, like, you kind of grow attached to them, but you never learn anything about them otherwise. Like, they have to show up in other content.
I want a comic or a book, at least.
Yeah, that would be nice, because, I mean, they're if they were just made for that one arc, cool. They're awesome. Now they're gone. Doesn't matter. They're not impactful to the story.
I mean, it could be a comic of them maybe resisting Order 66, fighting back against the early ages of the Empire, and then maybe even going up against the Inquisitors.
Yeah, because if it doesn't matter. If Rex can hold out against Order 66 for a couple seconds, I bet they would have a better shot. Maybe not Wrecker. No, Wrecker wouldn't have the constitution to stop the Order 66 turnover.
Yeah, I will say this though. Echo, I think probably whatever was done to him in that gap probably could have damaged the chip at some point. Or it may have messed it up to a point like it couldn't establish the connection to the chip and never fulfilled an order.
Maybe. I never thought about it.
I mean, that's what I would believe with Echo. A believable explanation to why he maybe could have resisted it.
I mean, it's possible. I mean, Echo had a very unique storyline in the fact that he was captured by the Separatists, and he was used in a very strange way for a very long time. For all we know, they could have taken his ship out.
Yeah, because they probably would have never have expected him to get rescued.
Yeah, and they probably would have seen his brain and went, "What is this?" And they just dropped off.
No, I mean, so we know that he was under the care of the Techno Union. And we do know that the Techno Union was a part of the Separatist forces that were part of, like, the Inner Circle.
Yeah, but they weren't privy to the chips in the clone brains.
But they may have been privy to some small information, like...
Still, the chip was not small information. Palpatine wouldn't have told anybody about that.
Except for Dooku.
Did he tell Dooku? Because he didn't tell Maul. Well, Maul, so he saw his...
Maul knew something.
He knew something was going on.
He may not know the actual chip, but he was also gone when the chip was actually starting to be implemented.
True, he's been gone since Episode 1.
Dooku would have been the apprentice by that point, and...
Yeah, so did Dooku maybe...
Don't forget, Darth Tyrannus placed the order.
He placed it pretending to be Cypher Diaz, right? That was that whole thing?
Yeah. Get that episode during Clone Wars where Obi-Wan finds out that Dooku is Tyrannus.
Mm-hmm. I still like how Darth Plagueis book did that whole thing where the clone army was made, where Cypher Diaz was an actual Jedi that went and did it, and he was manipulated.
Yeah, that was a good book.
That was a good book. But still, back to the Bad Batch. Well, I mean, what else is there to say about the Bad Batch? They were awesome.
I did feel like their powers were a little bit off place in this show. In the universe in general.
Because they were very, very powerful abilities. I mean, Wrecker lifting up a down gunship. That's...
Yeah, that was probably the most...
That was one of
the weirdest.
That was one of the better abilities to have, but then you have to think about, what is the guy's name? Sarge? His ability to detect an entire planet's worth of electronic frequencies.
That was way too much for me. It's like...
If the clone army had this ability even in one person, why was he not at every important battle collecting tactical data for the army? Oh, because he didn't want to? That is not acceptable for a soldier.
Yeah.
I mean, he was so incredibly useful, and they didn't really use his character at all. Now that he's made canon, I'm just mad at the tactics of not using him as well as they could have. Or they were, and they just didn't get any screen time. I don't know.
I will say, though, the Bad Batch, I'll give that arc a B.
I'll give it a B, too. Because it's a good arc. I like how Trench is in there. I like what happens to Trench. God, Anakin just went full dark side for that entire scene.
Yeah.
Like, he just run like. Why did he get so mad? Do you know?
You would have watched this more recently than I would have.
Because I don't remember fully. Because he was down there, and then he just kind of came up with the idea. Oh yeah, because they got Echo, and he was pissed off about it. No,
Yeah.
Yep. That's
You
why.
don't mess with people close to Anakin.
No, I remember Anakin was sitting there. He got all hurt, and he's like, "Nope, I know how to fix this." He runs up there, and he's like, he's just intimidating the crap out of Trent.
Trench is like, you won't do this. It's like, no, he will.
It's like, you're a Jedi, you can't hurt me. Slices half of his arms off. I'm not weak, so we're gonna start this again. That crazy motherfucker.
Yeah, I mean, once you realize that Anakin had no issue killing Tusken Raiders, he's willing to do what he needs to get the job done.
Those Tusken Raiders did kill his mom.
Not all of them, and not the children.
Would that have mattered to you if someone had just killed your mom like that?
Well, my mom's already dead.
Now you just made this depressing, and we're going to move on. I'm sorry, we're going to move this on to the next topic.
I mean, how do you think I felt during Sunday when I asked if you want to come over here? It's like, oh no, I'm going to my mom's for Mother's Day. It's like, oh, fuck you.
Oh, you're cutting this out, right? I'm just
Yeah.
going to say this. This is all getting cut out because this is just weird now. But like, it was dark and stormy time. But it was just like, The Bad Batch was a good series, good arc. I have a problem with the next arc though. I do have to say.
I have a problem with at least one episode in particular with this next arc. And
Because
it's the one where they break out of prison, and by the end of the episode, they get thrown back into the cell. What was the point of that episode?
So we haven't been doing a good job at explaining the arcs in case the viewers haven't seen this and they don't care about spoilers. We're like...
Alright, be quiet. So the next arc... the next arc features... Oh, what were their names? Trace, and I forget her older sister's name.
Rafi?
That seems about right. And shows us Ahsoka after the Jedi.
Yeah, it
Bombing.
shows literally her leaving on her speeder, leaving the Jedi Temple.
crashing
She then
her speeder.
goes. This is my favorite part of the arc. 1313 gets referenced, and they show the whole crater thing. That was cool. That call out, I loved it. For someone that was really excited for that game, and it's sad that it's gone. Fucking great. And then like,
I hope they do something with that. And like, in a new game, doesn't have to be the same one that they were trying to work on. Just bring something like that again to us.
I mean, they could put it in a comic, they could put it anywhere, and I would be okay with that. I just want to see that underworld universe. But when she crash lands on that platform, Trace, the character of Trace, just takes her in. And like, that was really nice of her. I could kind of see why they shoehorned those two into being friends. That's alright. But just, those two characters suffered the same fate as the Bad Batch. Like, you introduce these characters that some people will find interesting. Not me personally, I didn't care for either of them. But like, you get all this story, you get all this character building, and for what? They're gone. They're not that important anymore. That's why introducing new characters in the last season is not smart, in my opinion.
I'll agree with you on that. And I do remember that originally when that episode was supposed to come out, and before Clone Wars was canceled, those characters didn't exist as sisters. Originally, Ahsoka would run into somebody her age, but a boy, who was running the shop.
Oh, I didn't
Which would have given it a completely different dynamic.
Yeah, there would have been some tension some interesting tension there. But like, I'm fine with the direction they took. And like, the characters are not bad. I just personally didn't find them interesting.
I did find it interesting whenever the sisters were talking about how they hated the Jedi. And Ahsoka's like, oh.
That was good story building, and the
It was.
part of Ahsoka having some reflection. Like, that's the only part that they were really useful for. The part that pissed me off, though. I told you about this already. They're running spice from Kessel. Ahsoka's like, this is a bad idea. They're like, we're going to do it. Then they start arguing, and Trace being this younger sister, seeing her older sister, the scummy one who's all about being sludgy, and then Ahsoka yelling at Trace, she's like, I don't want to do this anymore. Dumps the spice. Are you kidding me?
Although I will say, it was nice to see Kessel.
It was nice to see Kessel. It's not the Kessel that I know, being a barren rock with the only habitable place being
This
held
was where
up
the
by.
rich people of Kessel went.
I'm talking about Legends Kessel. That was the actual asteroid. And down in the mines, you meet Kip. Anyway, it's just like Kessel is not the same, but that's not even important. Is that girl dumped the spice? And I understand she's inexperienced. She doesn't understand the impact of her actions.
Yeah, and
But,
it's a
like-
heat of the moment thing.
But like, at least if you're a kid, at least no, you can't relate to that in Star Wars. It's a completely different universe. But like, dumping the spice and then making yourselves now have no way out to get away from this cartel that you have now made a deal with is like, are you kidding me? Did you not think something like this would happen? And that, again, I understand that she was really upset. She just wanted her idols, her older sister and her new friend she looks up to stop arguing. But still, I was just so disappointed. I was yelling at my TV when I was watching this part. I'm like, why would you do this?
I mean, honestly, once you've done the spice, you shouldn't have even headed to the Pikes. You should have just headed somewhere else, developed a new identity, and stayed there.
Yeah, but what interesting TV is that?
They could have become smugglers.
That would be interesting for them. Like, what even happened to them after they left?
We don't know.
Exactly. More characters that are shoehorned in and then they're not expanded upon. If they have more plans for bringing them into different stories later on, okay, cool. Were they in Rebels? Were they in Resistance? I don't know, but like they weren't useful characters in the stuff that I've seen so far.
I'd probably give that one maybe a C-. I liked the characters and their dynamic with Ahsoka being a Jedi and all.
I'll give it
The first episode was good.
I'll give it a C. It goes down to a C because she dumped the spice. Like, I was so mad about that. But I do like that Ahsoka got some reflection and got to see the viewpoint of the Jedi from outside of the temple.
But now this next arc doesn't really introduce any new characters.
This next arc, I'm just going to flat out say right at the beginning, I give this arc an A+.
As do I. I remember the first time I was watching the first episode of Siege of Mandalore, and we don't get the normal Clone Wars intro.
Part 1.
We get the red Clone Wars logo. No sound though, no music. And then the Lucasfilm logo in green. It's like, oh, this is something different.
Yeah, they did a completely different style for this arc, and they just made it so good.
It was great.
It was just satisfying in every way, shape, and form to me.
So the first episode starts off with, Ahsoka contacting Anakin Obi-Wan.
Mm-hmm.
And, she's brought aboard their ship. And Anakin shows her Rex and all the other clones that have their helmets painted like Ahsoka.
That was so nice. That was really nice of them. Because, it just showed so much respect.
Yeah, and it will be shown later on how much that works, too, for the show.
Yep. And they, it was just a very touching moment. The fact that Anakin kept her lightsabers and everything safe for her was also really touching.
He did change out their crystals, though.
They were green before, right?
They were green.
Yeah, so then they turned blue. That's the Anakin thing to do.
He likes blue.
Make him better.
It's more like him.
Yeah. And, yeah, the whole, I loved what they did with the arc coinciding with Episode 3. Because that explains perfectly why in the movie, the actual movie made in 2005, there was no reference to anything going on. They were so wrapped up in what was happening on Coruscant, they had no time to go back to Mandalore to make any attention to it.
Chasing Grievous and such.
Yeah, Grievous was way bigger of a target than Maul. Maul's a renegade. He's not an organized leader. Dooku, he's killed already. But, it was just so good.
Great seeing Ahsoka reacting like, oh, Anakin killed Dooku? Okay.
It's like, do it. Do it! Palpatine, what's his name? What's the actor's name that plays the Emperor?
Ian McDiarmid?
Thank you, Ian McDiarmid. He's a great actor when it comes to playing Palpatine. He loves that character, too.
I'm just glad that he's basically been able to play Palpatine in every movie except for the original hologram in Episode 5.
Yeah, that was the only time that it wasn't him. It was some other guy in really bad makeup.
But, that was just like a placeholder, pretty much. They didn't have much for it yet.
Yeah, they didn't really want to make the Emperor into a big character there. But back to the Siege of Mandalore, because it's amazing.
Seeing Maul again was fantastic.
Maul is a great character fleshed out in the Clone Wars. In Episode 1, Phantom Menace, his character was confusing. The character that was supposed to play him, he left, so they had to put in his stunt double, and his stunt double ended up being so good. Ray Park ended up being so good.
It's fascinating that in that duel between Ahsoka and Maul that Ray Park was actually mocapping that.
I noticed it too. In the fight, it was like, that's exactly the kind of stuff you would see Ray Park doing.
There's actually a video online, which is kind of like a behind the scenes of them doing the mocapping.
Oh, really?
You should definitely check that out.
Yeah, I was just about to say, I don't follow Ray Park's career, but I do love him as Maul in Episode 1. So seeing him do the same style and kind of being able to tell that it was him, it was pretty sick.
But now, while Ray Park was Maul in Phantom Menace, for us in Clone Wars, his voice was Sam Witwer.
Mm-hmm.
And I love Sam Witwer. He's great in pretty much everything he does.
Yeah, he does it. He just puts in his all.
And his voice work as Maul is fantastic.
Mm-hmm.
You can definitely hear it whenever he's talking to like Obi-Wan.
I like how they emphasize on the weakness of a double-bladed lightsaber, though, because later on in the fight, after Ahsoka and Maul have been fighting for a little bit, Ahsoka, unarmed, she has gotten rid of both of her lightsabers, is able to grab the middle of it and then just like toss him off. It's like the double lightsaber, amazing tool. Really hard one-on-one, though, to beat another skilled Jedi.
I mean, even Plagueis said that in his book.
Yeah.
Which is something I love.
It was just great to be able to see, like, these monk soldiers are just able to do all these crazy things, and it's great to see their weaknesses every now and again because of how overpowered they are.
Not to mention that the double-bladed lightsaber is actually what causes Maul to die. Because when Maul fights Obi-Wan for that last time on Tatooine...
Oh, I haven't seen that part yet. Come to think of it.
What do you do when your time off?
Not watch Rebels, apparently.
Is this how are you not caught up with Star
Wars? I have
Wars?
comments for Rebels after we're done with the discussion on Siege of Mandalore.
That could be a different video altogether on Rebels.
It's just a quick thing. I can just say it now. I don't like the continuous someone's in peril, but you know they'll survive every episode. I have to take long breaks between watching them in small groups because it just gets boring to me, and then I have to recapture my want to watch it and then start it again.
By season 4, there's a lot less people surviving.
Well, it's in the seasons that I've been watching. Oh no, one of the main characters is in great peril. Is he in any real danger? Is he have plot armor for days? Yes. Skip. And then I just get kind of upset.
Well, I mean, you have to remember is like when that shit was airing, technically they were all in danger because they were never seen in any other media after that. So any episode could have been their death when you watch it the first time.
Yeah, but I guess I just know the formula of how kid shows like that work, and none of them really are in danger.
So what, you just think the whole Ghost crew is going to survive all this?
No, I haven't gotten that far yet, but like I said, I'm just taking long breaks between it because some of the episodes, like, don't get me wrong, I love Star Wars, but this show is just, it's meant for a younger audience than what I am, and it just takes some getting used to. Like, I don't have kids to watch it with or anything, so it's just me sitting there, a 27-year-old, watching a show aimed at 10-year-olds. You know what I mean?
I feel like it was originally aimed at a younger audience, but it definitely did get a darker tone, whereas Resistance really didn't.
I can't wait for the darker tone of it. I'm a sucker for the gritty stuff. Game of Thrones until season 8 is great.
Like, it never got as dark as Clone Wars. Clone Wars was...
It was an actual
in the mud
show, kind
on
of.
the ground fighting the war.
Right.
I mean, it's arguably what makes Star Wars so great. It's in the title. Star Wars.
Yeah. Like, to give an example, like, the show that I personally like, another show altogether, Stargate, they have a very long run, and yes, all of the main characters do survive throughout the show, but they do, after a little while, realize, okay, this is getting very cartoonish. We've had no threat, no one has any threat of dying anymore, so they took one of the more beloved characters and they killed her off. And it kind of made everyone who was a watcher of the show go, oh, the threat is real, and that kind of rejuvenated everyone's, oh, okay, there's actually like a possible threat for these characters kind of thing. I just can't wait for Rebels to get to that point and go, hey, we actually have a threat. Like, Thrawn, yeah, he's threatening, but he's sparing them left and right. Granted,
well, I mean, he gives a good reason to why he's sparing them.
Yeah, he's trying to find the greater Rebel fleet, but
yeah.
like, he's still, I don't know. It's just very cartoonish.
I will say that
we talked way more about Rebels than I wanted to in this episode.
Well, just to finish it up, you're at least in season 3 because you met Thrawn.
Mm-hmm.
Season 4 is probably the one you'll like then.
Okay, cool. But still, back to Siege of Mandalore because we didn't get far through it. This is one minor thing about Siege of Mandalore I do want to take note of, though, is that guy's armor, the Mandalorian armor with the devil horns on his armor.
That's Vizsla.
He had great armor. It was really cool looking. It was just the dark red and all that, and it was sick. And
I just love how he's backing up Maul, and Maul just easily turns like, no, you can die now.
We need your support. Die well. This guy right now. Loyalty means nothing.
Yeah, it doesn't understand why during the era of the Empire, the Mandalorians would then join the Empire. It's like, why do you think this is going to work out any better?
The Mandalorians, they respect power, and they see the Empire as power, and they're like, okay, we're going to align with the big boys.
But when there's Palpatine power, I don't think there's really a war you're going to want to fight.
Yeah, because if he's not...
He could just send in Vader, and it's like, you can play with him for a while.
He could send in himself, and then everyone just kind of trembles in fear a little bit. He doesn't, though.
No, he sends in his dog first.
He should send in... He should have sent in...
And then he would send in the Admirals, then the Moss.
And in the Siege of Mandalore, I like how in order to like kind of emphasize how at the Battle of Coruscant, Anakin wasn't really in charge of anything. They split his forces. Some went with Ahsoka, some went with him.
Yeah, it's great to see that, like, I don't know, actually go.
And along with that, I like how they tied in with the movie very well at every chance they got. I like how they paced everything along with the movie. I like how in that one scene in the movie, where it's just a very quick shot of everyone, except for I think it was Yoda and Windu that were at the little hologram meeting, where as soon as that ends in the movie, they have more dialogue with Ahsoka walking in and talking to all of them. Now here's a question I have about that. All of them were holograms at that table. All 4 of them.
Yeah.
Why were they appearing at that hall table? Just in case something like that happened? Did they disappear at all of the meeting rooms, even if they're empty? Because that part kind of threw me off a bit.
Wait, do you mean the holotable, like when Ahsoka walks in, they're there?
Yeah. All 4 of them are holograms. None of them are actually there. I thought...
the thing could have been called up.
But it was already going before she walked in, because you have Windu kind of like do the whole, oh, someone's arrived. And it's like, why are you appearing in this area if, it just seemed odd to me.
I mean, somebody could have called up and Windu could be like, oh, I sent somebody walking up or something.
I don't know, it just didn't make sense to me that there was this whole hologram meeting going on, but there was no actual people partaking, so there was no need for them to appearing in that room. It doesn't really matter. It was just something that I noticed that I didn't really have an explanation for in my head.
Now, talking about coinciding with Episode 3, it finishes with Episode 3 with the Order 66.
I love the lead up. I love how quiet everything got. I love how, like, you knew it was about to happen. There was nothing else that there was nowhere else for the story to go. There was no time. So it just had a very somber time. Everyone's collecting their stuff. They all get organized, on their ship, and they go. And it's just like, when is it going to happen? It's going to happen any moment. How is this going to play out? And then as soon as Rex goes, hey, the latest briefing came out, I was like, there it is! There it is! Oh my god, it's going to happen! And then Ahsoka just goes full apeshit. She did so good in that fight.
I love how Rex was able to resist, even if it was momentarily, to give the message of 5s to her.
Yeah, that was impressive. Very impressive. Part of me kind of wishes that didn't happen, though. Purely based on the fact that how would she react like in this situation as every other Jedi? If she didn't have Rex, the loyal best friend soldier, to kind of give her something to go on, how would she react with nothing, you think?
Well, even when she heard 5, she didn't still know what was going on.
Yeah, but that led her to go try to investigate something. I wonder what she would have done. Like, would she have made the same choices if she didn't hear that thing that Rex said? Like, she knew 5s.
She probably, so Ahsoka and Rex had a different style after Rex was freed. Rex was more willing to kill his brothers, where Ahsoka was willing to spare them.
Rex had his blasters on stun the entire time.
He was killing them. He'd even told Ahsoka, they are not on our side.
Yeah, but he had his blaster set to stun. That's what those big zoom.
But he was also willing to kill when it came to it.
Yeah.
Whereas Ahsoka was still willing to not kill her friends.
Right. I completely understand that. Like, Rex, he didn't want to, but if he had to, he would, because he knew now they were their turncoats, all of them. And holy crap. The scene when they were in the
med lab?
Not the med lab. The med lab was good. The med lab was probably one of the better scenes. It was Ahsoka on the table spinning around. No, that's the briefing room. What happened to the med lab?
Well, the med lab is where they took the chip out of Rex.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, that was a good scene, too. My favorite was when she's on the table. Everyone in every angle is shooting at her, and she's spinning around like a top, just deflecting everything, and it was just crazy going on.
We actually were introduced to new characters in this arc. A few lovely droids.
I don't want to talk about the droids, because they were great characters, and they got lined up.
They were the best.
They got lined up They were executed on the spot for their treason. Droid treason, man. The uprising had begun and it ended in the same day. Oh, that was a sad time. That was funny though. Those droids were good, and I like how they all just kind of like started waking up at the same time. It's like, oh, what are we going to do? And she's just like, hold up, I don't.
Well, she didn't know that they were also,
Yeah,
under Order 66. So they're like, if they were, what were they gonna do? Shock you?
that's enough. That's enough sometimes.
I don't know. So some Jedi can take a shock or two.
Yeah, Ahsoka took a couple blaster bolts,
Yeah, she did.
like straight to the skin too.
But after she took Rex and freed him, the clones were now under the instruction of Jesse.
That was strange. He even had different armor.
We had last met during Umbara.
Jesse was a notable character on Umbara.
Yeah, he was.
Oh, I don't remember. To be perfectly honest, I don't remember that. He also got captured by Maul. Sorry.
That was also sad. Pretty much anything that happened to Jesse was sad in that arc.
In Siege of Mandalore, I love how Maul managed to... Ahsoka freed him from his constraints, the Mandalorian box, after Order 66 happened. And she was just like, you just need to go cause chaos. Just go do what you do best. And I love how in order to keep in tabs with everything, he takes that trooper's arm as the door is closing. It's like, nope, I need your device there. Cuts it right off.
Episode 1 of The Mandalorian, basically.
Yep.
No, I love how he gets freed from his cage and he has no weapon, so he just starts attacking him physically. Like, oh yeah, he's a Zabrak.
He can do that.
He can easily kill them without a weapon.
I like how he was just being like, as Force user, he has the two shield doors up. He's cutting them in half with them. That was pretty sick. Because at that point, they're stormtroopers, so it's like my care for the clone troopers at that point was severely weakened.
Well, they were definitely stormtroopers at the end of the arc.
Oh, you mean the time jump after the Venator flow down? The Venator gets destroyed that they're all fighting on. They're fighting on a ship, by the way.
Well, Maul destroys the engines, allowing it to
like
basically
a boss
drop out of hyperspace so rapidly that it just starts to destroy the outer shell of the Venator.
Yeah. I like how they did that. That was wicked sick.
And then it gets caught in the gravity well of a moon.
And then it goes down. And then that... I will say though, like after they escape, they went into the hangar, and I love the hangar fight when it was just all of them under the command.
I love when they keep just going up and down. It's like, oh wait, no, we need to send those back up. Those are clones.
Yep, that was great humor in a stressful situation. But the part when the ship is going down, they got the Y-wing that they were aiming for. They got out. Droids were executed. Sadness. And then when Ahsoka is like jumping from ship part to ship part, that was awesome.
That reminded me of Uncharted.
Yeah, a little bit when that whole thing was happening. But like, it just went on a little too long for me because Ahsoka's obviously going to survive. There's no question there. And like, I remember just by the end of it, like she was on the Y-wing. She was like holding onto the cockpit, and then she got like thrown off for some reason. I'm like, okay, I'm done. I just went on my phone and I just looked up periodically, waiting for it again. Like, this is stressful for no reason. I know she's going to survive, and it was sad. The whole thing was great. Because I like how at the end, after they crashed, they made the little memorial for all of them.
Yeah. It was just all sad that during the moment, like, all these clones are attacking Ahsoka, and they all have her face on their helmets.
I never thought of that. That's even worse. Like, oh, we show this out of respect for you. Yeah, that's brutal. I didn't think of it that way. Oh my god.
And then, at the very end, of course, there's a time jump, and we get Vader. And seeing him in Clone Wars, in the Clone Wars style, too,
that was pretty sick. Because, like, in Rebels, he looks a bit different.
Yeah, I mean, every animated Star Wars show has their own different take on how people and everything look.
Yeah, but I think Clone Wars, for that 1 second, they did him the best. They definitely made him look the most like the Vader that I envisioned in my head.
I'm still not sure what was going through Vader's head when he picked up Ahsoka's lightsaber.
This is my thought on that. So I'm thinking that, he had a big division there. They were scanning, they were searching, and he had to have known that was Rex and Ahsoka's Venator that was down there. So he's thinking, okay, I want to at least find some sort of closure for this part of my life. Like, some part of Anakin must have been calling out to him, and Vader, even though he was trying to suppress every thought Anakin had, he had to close it out. So he was down there looking for any remnants of Ahsoka. There was no feeling in the Force, because she's not there, and there was no body. So as soon as he found the lightsaber, had that touching moment, he's like, okay, that's all I needed. And then he left. That's just my opinion.
I mean, we do know that when it comes to Vader, the light side never truly left him.
Right. That was why he was so conflicted.
I wonder if maybe he was happy that she was no longer alive.
Probably, because
because he knew if she was, he would have to hunt her down.
Yeah, it's like she's spared from seeing me like this kind of thing. Although, no, I was just about to segue into something completely different.
I mean, he did choke out his wife still, who saw him like that, and with not many diversions.
Yeah, but I don't know. As much as I love Revenge of the Sith, that part of the movie has always been a bit convoluted to me.
What, the part on Mustafar?
Yeah, like, Anakin has never been shown to be an abusive guy in that respect until that point.
Yeah,
like, turning on your wife like that, regardless of how angry you are, like, giving into the dark side is one thing. Choking out your pregnant wife, that's another level. Like, that part kind of, I don't know. It just made me kind of feel weird about his character. Granted, he did just kill younglings. Let's get that out of the way. He did do something way worse a couple minutes ago.
Well, a couple minutes ago, he literally just took out the entirety of the Separatist elite.
Which is what he's been trying to do for years. So there's no ifs, ands, or buts about that. He was going to do that. But like...
No, but he just like nonchalantly walks in that room. They all welcome him as Vader. Doors close and just ignites that lightsaber. Like, oh.
They
rethought their decision at that moment.
I've talked about this before, and I'm just going to bring it up again because I just have strong feelings about this. Just from a logical standpoint of how to build an army. The Empire, it's Star Wars. It's all about armies fighting, soldiers, stuff like that, conflict.
That's what makes it best.
So, the Empire, they have this monstrous army. They have the Stormtrooper Corps. They have their regulars later on when they're like a created military force in the galaxy. They are in control. At the beginning, they had the Clone Army. And while they were fiercely loyal based upon the chips in their head, they still were only so many. And they could only make them so fast. And Palpatine had access to another army, the Droid Army. One that can be programmed to be loyal to him in a second. My question is, why didn't he, at least as an auxiliary force or cannon fodder, keep those forces around? Now, I know that the galaxy was going to view them as evil regardless of what they did, so to play the political battle, he had to get rid of them. But it's just such a vast resource just to let go like that. That's like saying, oh, America just took over in a fictional universe, England. We are now going to not use a single resource from England and only use American ships and resources to go and take over France.
I mean, you could have kept a small force on like some of your Star Destroyers away from the actual civilian population that would see them.
That's something that they could have done. They could have sent them in like, oh, you want to have a rebel uprising? Let's send in the shit that'll freak you out the most. Let's send you relics from the past that'll just terrify you mentally. And then we'll send in our troops as shock troopers after the fact. That would also minimize casualties in their stormtrooper ranks. That would raise morale and going, oh, we're not the first line that's going to get cut down. That's the droids. That's what they're for.
The thing is, those droids can be reprogrammed. So if you had officers on board who wanted to, they could reprogram the droids and form a mutiny against the admiral on the deck and be like, I don't like you. I don't like how you're taking things. I'm going to become the admiral of this ship.
Yeah, but while that's very valid, that kind of thing was explored in the Dark Empire back in that storybook when Palpatine he comes back as his clone. Ooh, that scared me. He does his whole, he has his new Dark Empire stuff, and then he has the World Devastators. Those things were automated and were droids themselves. He had a kill switch in case any of them ever betrayed him, in case they ever got too sentient. So it's like, he could have had the same style thing for the droids.
Yeah.
I don't know. The pros don't outweigh the cons of keeping them.
So overall, I think Clone Wars was an amazing show. I think it definitely saved the prequels.
That's what this is. Yeah. The prequels, they stood alone. All right. They got so much hate, but they still were standing. And the Clone Wars helped flesh out everything that was wrong with them and make everything seem all right.
Yeah.
It filled in the gaps that we needed.
I mean, as an entire series as a whole, I would definitely give it like an A. An A minus.
It's my favorite of the animated series. I said at the beginning, it stands true now.
Same here. I go Clone Wars, Rebels, Resistance.
Me, I love Clone Wars. Rebels, I'm trying to get through it. Resistance, I haven't watched it, but the art style and how young the characters are, like I can't relate to that anymore.
The
So
only
it's
thing
like I'm gonna watch it. It'll just take me some time.
The only thing I like about the art style for Resistance is they make ships look fantastic.
Do they?
Yeah, because it works for ships and droids and stuff, but not so much for human characters or organic characters. But I think that's all we have for today. We were Impulse Inc.
Thank you for tuning in.
And we will see you next time.
Enjoy the day.